Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You are here with Austin from Ohio, and today is Monday, September 26th, 2022. Hope everybody's doing well. Well, as well as you can be during this time. I know it's probably difficult out there, trying to talk to people, even trying to talk to people in the same community sometimes can be unnerving, because for some reason, we like to disagree a lot. I don't know if it's our culture. It's got to be the culture, because people disagree on just about anything nowadays. But even in this community, sometimes we argue. I'll see people arguing in comment sections on different videos, this and that. And I always think to myself, this is really not needed, because it's usually over something trivial. I'm not busting on anybody for friendly debates. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, people going after each other. People calling people names, telling them they're stupid. All that is counterproductive to what we're trying to do here. And what I'm trying to do is to hopefully wake up a few people at least. And I've already done that in my life. Really, I have. I've had at least 10 people come up to me personally, or write me on social media, or email me and tell me that what I told them, what I showed them, made them start to think, made them start to read more into things, brought them to an understanding that most of us here are already at. So that's why I'm here. And I'm here to hopefully, just bring news to people and whatnot. And nothing happened in my comment section. Nobody ever argues in my comment section. You guys are usually very, very cordial, very nice to each other. Everyone's nice to me, which I appreciate. But it's just anywhere. It doesn't even necessarily have to just be within our community. Just in general. Arguing with somebody over something stupid or something that doesn't really matter, it's counterproductive to anything you could be doing. Not even just this. Anything. Okay. Alright, well, we're going to start here at CBS News. China and Russia see the U.S. in their crosshairs at the United Nations. You could just guess what this is. Okay, as the UN General Assembly winds to a close on Monday, the focus on the horrific images of death and destruction in Ukraine during hundreds of world leaders' speeches underscored the inability of the United Nations to prevent or end the Russian invasion of Ukraine. You see what they're doing already in this article? They're saying, the United Nations' inability to prevent or end this invasion. As soon as this Russian invasion, whatever, started, I literally got on here and said, this is going to be used to blame world governments, national governments, for not being able to prevent this crisis along with others. And that's exactly what's going on right now. After World War I, we had the League of Nations. After World War II, we had the United Nations. What do you think the next one's going to be called? That's literally all this is. This whole Russian thing, that's what it is. It's to get people to doubt and just not believe and not have confidence in their systems anymore. The quote, old systems that no longer serve us, according to the people in Davos. Although President Biden announced large new aid packages and funding for Ukraine, countries around the world took the moment to plea for world leaders to deal with growing inequality, a focus of the opening speech by UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres. On Saturday, the 193-nation assembly heard from China and Russia, and both took the moment to put the U.S. in their crosshairs. China's foreign minister, Wang Yi, took aim at the United States, saying, protectionism can only boomerang, hoping that the U.S. will not abandon what has become a major trade relationship. Wang and U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, is that guy's name Antony or Anthony? I'm not sure. It could be a typo, but it could be his name. I could be wrong. did meet at the sidelines of the UN meeting. Beijing's focus on the current rift with Taiwan, Wang told diplomats, a point aimed at recent comments Mr. Biden made on 60 Minutes. Quote, any scheme to interfere in China's internal affairs is bound to meet the strong opposition of all Chinese, and any move to obstruct China's reunification is bound to be crushed by the wheels of history, he said. So basically, threatening war. And this is the point, because when it does come to more conflict, when this does happen, who's everyone going to point the finger at? The United Nations. And they're going to say, why aren't you good enough to have prevented this problem? We need a new system. A new system where these governments have no choice whether to be in or out. A new system where we dissolve all national governments and have one. That's the goal here. U.S. Ambassador to the UN, Linda Thomas-Greenfield, told CBS News this week, intense U.S. diplomacy has taken place in an effort to persuade China that Russia's invasion of a sovereign nation is contrary to China's long-standing policy. Wang's statements underscored what China President Xi Jinping had told Russian President Vladimir Putin in recent weeks. China is uncomfortable with the war. Quote, China supports all efforts conducive to the peaceful resolution of the Ukraine crisis, Wang told world leaders. The pressing priority is to facilitate talks for peace. The fundamental solution is to address the legitimate security concerns for all parties. Read that again. The fundamental solution is to address the legitimate security concerns for all parties. Take all the time you need on that one. Quote, President Xi called the international community to pursue common, comprehensive, cooperative, and sustainable, there's that word, security to respect the sovereignty and territorial integrity of all countries, Wang went on to say regarding Ukraine. What? So you can see how this is shaping up, though. They're going to say, oh, these countries wouldn't invade. There would be no more invasions, no more wars, if we all just merged. Because who would fight a war? We're all on the same team now. When you see the social engineering for what it is, and the subliminal messaging and what they're trying to put into your head and shape your thoughts, it's easy to see it, call it out, and disregard it from becoming part of your belief system. Okay, I will link this. I don't want to keep going through this because I have some other things that I want to get to. Let's see. Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov spoke to the General Assembly and then to reporters, making clear that Moscow is not going to make the first steps in talks to end the war in Ukraine, decrying that Russophobia in the West is unprecedented and now the scope is grotesque. So basically, this is just a lot of back and forth between Russia, U.S., China, U.S., Ukraine, Russia, just all of this confusion and talks and disagreements, and here it comes. As to next steps for the United Nations, the attempt to garner unity against the war will continue, albeit without results. I'm telling you guys, They're trying to get us, the people of the world, us, the peasants, they're trying to get us to cry for a new system, to beg for a new world order. They told us they would do it this way too, did they not? And anybody can come on here and say that that's not what this is, and I will call you a liar. And or a coward because you see, but you don't want to be part of the truth. So they're already saying the UN will not get results in an attempt to garner unity against the war, which is the point. Why weren't there UN resolutions for the United States' invasion of the entire Middle East? The UN said the United States has to protect its national security interests. That's what the UN said. This whole time, even still. The UN is literally just an extension of the United States. If you look up creditor and who created it, it's the United States. The headquarters for the United Nations is based in Manhattan. This goes back to the secret destiny of America. Because they needed a free people they needed us to create with the freedom of the free market, free enterprise, free expression. You know, they needed that to create the tools and technology needed to usher in their new world order. And they said, well, if man keeps his freedom, that's okay. That will be the new world order. But if he don't, and he won't, because these people understand nature, then they use all the technology that we have created, us, you know, the cheap labor, to enslave us. You don't believe me? Go read The Secret Destiny of the United States of America by Manly P. Hall. Okay, so basically the end of this one is blah, blah, blah. Ukraine requested a meeting of the 15-nation body next week to discussion the sham referendums in the temporarily occupied territories of Ukraine. And that's it for that one. So you can see they're creating all this animosity, instability, pointing the finger at the United Nations, saying they can't get it done. All this is leading with everything else for people to finally cry. David Rockefeller said, all we need is the right major crisis and the nations will accept the new world order. All these things together seems like the right major crisis. But I could just be some crazy guy, right? Some conspiracy theorist. Moving on. Oh, you guys will like this one. This one is from July 28, 2022, but I really just wanted to bring this up for one reason. Take a look at this title. Beyonce dedicates Renaissance to her gay uncle, which is, you know, whatever, and fallen angels of club culture. Fallen angels. If anybody knows anything about Beyonce, you know, her and Jay-Z basically are the music industry. I'm not going to go through here and read this. I just want to see. This is what she said. This is her exact quote. This is what I wanted to see. Okay. Quote. This is from Beyonce. Quote. A big thank you to my Uncle Johnny. He was my godmother and the first person to expose me to a lot of the music and culture that served as inspiration for this album. Thank you to all the pioneers who originate culture, to all of the fallen angels whose contributions have gone unrecognized for far too long. This is a celebration for you. You think she's just talking, you know, metaphorically? You think she's just out here just saying the term fallen angels? How about when they tell you they sold their soul? Do you not believe that either? They're being frank. They're telling you openly exactly what this is. Why would she say that of all things? And then you get the normies in here and they'll be like, oh, well, that's what you could say if she would have said anything. Why say that of all things? You could say that for anything. Okay, and she also could have said anything else besides fallen angels. So if you still listen to her music, you can go ahead and take this as an indication that you probably shouldn't. I just thought it was interesting to bring this up. Not going to read it. Don't really care about it. All I cared about was that. So, moving on. Okay, here we are over at NWO Bill Gates announces they're halfway toward their goals in reference to the Great Reset. This was on September 24th, 2022. Look at this guy. Get out of here, ad. So he's just out here announcing that they're halfway toward their goals. No big deal. They only got till 2030, but they're already halfway done. I think they're more than halfway done. This is what they're just telling us. Bill Gates announced on his Twitter page and elsewhere that the globalists are halfway toward their 17 sustainable goals to take over the Western world. They plan to speed it up. All this damage you are witnessing to fossil fuels, gender ideology, spending, climate extremism, CRT, open borders are all brought to you by these self-appointed world. I don't know what was supposed to be after that, but I would say leaders, self-appointed world leaders. Nobody ever elected these people. They just get to go and make policy and run around with singers of bands, and nobody ever even knows anything about it. In 2015, leaders from 193 countries agreed to the Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs. These were big, bold objectives we wanted to achieve by 2030. Everything from ending poverty to achieving gender equality. Each year, this report attempts to answer the question, how is the world doing? We want people to grasp what the numbers say about the trajectory of human progress. Yeah, according to these people, it's human progress, but, yeah, whatever. And this is still Bill Gates talking, by the way. When development experts around the world hammered out the SDGs 7 years ago, they had no idea that in 4 years' time, a novel virus would jump into the human population, sparking a once-in-a-century situation. Yeah, they did, actually. They knew that's exactly what they were going to do. That's why you had Event 201. That's why you had all the other tabletop exercises. That's why the Scenarios for the Future of Technology and International Development, Rockefeller Foundation document from 2010, talking about exactly what happened almost 3 years ago. So, I don't want to hear that, Bill Gates. You'll never hear my voice, but if you do, just know that we are resisting you and your disgusting deeds all the way. That's all I'm going to say. I don't want this video to get taken down yet. At least until a couple hundred people see it. Okay. They didn't anticipate that wars would begin in Ukraine or Yemen, or that from Afghanistan to the United States, the rights of women would be hurled back decades. Yes, they did. They knew all of this. You guys sit down at Bilderberg and literally plan all of this. Nothing in this world is accidental. And if something does happen accidentally, they hurry up and get control of the situation. You don't even have to look into this stuff to know that they do this. That's common sense. As it stands now, we need to speed up the pace of our progress 5 times faster to meet most of our goals. And even that might be an underestimate. Some of the projections don't yet account for the impact of the situation, let alone the war in Ukraine or the food crisis kicked off in Africa. That is what Bill Gates said. So they're talking about speeding up their sustainable development goals. Even more than they did when, the situation happened. And for people that are new, when I say situation, I'm talking about the pan, But I also say when the reset started, depending on what I'm talking about. So, okay, the would-be dictators of Agenda 2030 are rushing us toward the goals of the Dictators Club, the UN. Be afraid. You see where we are headed, and they're halfway there. Oh, I wouldn't say be afraid. I would say be vigilant. There's no fear. There's no fear that comes from this side. Nope. And I always tell people, all the time, they're like, Austin, I'm worried about this. Austin, what are we going to do? Austin, what are we going to do? First, I say, stop relying on somebody to do things for you. You got to get up, you got to do it yourself. Also, what I say is, do you believe in God? And if they say yes, I say, what are you worried about? And if they say, oh, I'm worried about this, worried about that, well, either you're lying to yourself, or that's just it. You're lying to yourself. Your faith needs to be a little stronger. See, I know where I'm going when I die. I'm not perfect, but I'm trying. Like we all are. Also, on that note of people, getting on there and helping themselves, it is my personal belief that everybody in this community should start a channel. Trust me, if you don't see yourself as a camera person, that goes away. I never saw myself making videos, I swear. When I used to watch people like, I still watch Carol. Great live stream she did yesterday, by the way. Shout out to you, Carol. That was very, very, very... The vibe was very wholesome the whole time. And we had a good chat, and everybody talked, and it was great. So, shout out to Carol at Never Lose Truth. Anyway. So, I'll be watching Carol, Richie, Mike, Nicholson, oh man, people that aren't even on YouTube anymore. Jeff C, well, he's passed now. Just a bunch of people. Before everybody, started becoming shills for some reason. And I always thought, like, man, I wish I had the guts to just get up there and start making videos. And then one day, well, after I watched a bunch of Carol's stuff, and then I was watching Tim's stuff, and I was like, man, Tim is a regular dude. He got his camera, he goes to work, and he just starts talking. And he's talking about a bunch of the stuff that's going on, and personal issues and this and that, and I respect that. I said, you know what, I'm going to give it a try. Never in a million years that I thought I would even get 50 subscribers, let alone close to 1,800. But seriously though, if anybody makes a channel, please start making videos. Like, even if you have to make shorts or even TikToks, Facebook videos, whatever it is, just everybody can contribute something. Everybody has information that somebody else has not come across yet. I'm not, me, Carol, Tim, Richie, all these guys, we're not like special. We're just some people who decided to start talking into a camera one day. I mean, it's the truth. And it's a lot easier than you would think. But my main point, if anybody starts a channel and tells me about it, and I go over and I check it out, and I see that you're doing pretty good work, you're putting out information, you're helping the cause, I will go ahead and I will recommend your channel to other people. I will put my email in the comments, but I will also say it. My email is Austin J Star with 2 R's 0112. I got multiple different ones, but for my main channel, it's Austin J Star with 2 R's 0112 at gmail.com. I will also put it in the comments, like I said. But yeah, anybody makes videos, tells me about it, I go and check it out. You're doing good work, or at least something, I will recommend you to other people. Scout's honor. Moving on. Alright, here's another one over at NWO Report. Oh, I gotta get rid of this ad. It's not gonna crash my recording thing because it's not a recording app anymore. It's a built-in software, but... Okay, collapse of energy, food, and transportation systems. This was September 22nd, 2022. The modus operandi of the Great Reset, aka Build Back Better, is to intentionally collapse the current system with policies designed to create a crisis, havoc, and shortages. Anybody with a brain can see that. Even regular people just walking around, don't look at anything in their life, they are now seeing, hey, something's wrong. Why is this happening? Why is that happening? Once the inevitable societal chaos ensues, a huge coordinated push to promote nationalization or government takeover of impacted industries ensues. It is always claimed that the free market failed and now only government can come in and clean up the mess. This is how it has happened in every society, basically. Problem, reaction, solution. Government destroys everything, creates all these crises, this and that. They blame us. They come in with their solution that they wanted in the first place. Classic Hegelian dialectic. I shouldn't even be having to explain this. And I usually don't, but some people come on here and they don't fully understand that process. Those are the people I'm talking to. Okay, so the advocates of nationalization usually bill it as temporary nationalization of the industries, much like 15 days to slow the spread or 2 weeks to flatten the curve. Yeah, remember that? We're billed as temporary measures. ... Yeah, they're temporary, right? That's the longest 2 weeks I've ever lived. Oh yeah, this is about to get taken down for that. Stuart Chase, the key advisor to former President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, envisioned an early version of the Great Reset in the 1930s and 40s, complete with calls for government control of energy sources, hydroelectric power, coal, petroleum, natural gas, control of transportation, railway, highway, airway, waterway, and the control of agricultural production. Yeah, you know what that is? National Defense Resources Preparedness Act. Signed by Obama in 2015? Yeah, 2014 was NDAA. 2015 was National Defense Resources Preparedness. Also, accompany that with all these executive orders that they have for taking over this stuff. They have it all covered. Okay, well, Chase loved the idea of managing all aspects of society. He asked at the end of his 1932 book, A New Deal, quote, why should the Soviets have all the fun remaking the world? Chase's lust for Soviet ideology could be updated to 2022 by replacing the Soviets for China. And I think that's it there. But yeah, every single time, these people have always been obsessed with the fact that they want to control everything. It is human nature to want to abuse power. That's why they say power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. And I'll say that to people and they'll laugh at me. Like, you think it's a joke? That's true for everybody. Any one of us in this chat, myself included, and you can't say that you wouldn't, because it's human nature. You could say you wouldn't right now, just like I could say I wouldn't, but you don't know till you get there. Everybody in this chat, myself included, everybody on earth, if they were given power over somebody else, they would abuse it. Sometimes it might be a little bit of power somebody abuses. Sometimes it might take a little bit more. Somebody might not abuse it until they get a lot of power. But that's just human nature. And even animals. Animals do the same thing. They fight over territory, resources. That's just the way that humans are built. Don't know where we got that from. Don't know if it was some survival tactic. But that's the truth. And it pains me to say it because I wish it wasn't so. Because I feel like if I would get it, like any position of power, first of all, I'd be dead within 30 minutes. Because the first thing I would do is pull out of the United Nations. Then I would reverse the entire Great Reset, everything that's happened since 2019. Reverse. Then I would dissolve NDAA, Patriot Act, which would effectively get rid of Homeland Security. I would get rid of the National Security Act, which would get rid of the NSA. I would demean the entire executive branch, strip it back down to what it used to be. Same with the legislative and judicial. Fry the media. There's so many things. Or even just getting up there and saying like, hey, this is going on. So many people said they were for Donald Trump. When did he ever get up there and say, hey, this and that's going on, and actually name people and not just say, oh, the Democrats, oh, the Democrats, oh, the Democrats, China Democrats. That's nothing, because on the other side they say Russia Republicans. China Democrats, Russia Republicans. And those of us who see it for what it is are like, you guys are both dumb. Remove yourself from that Hegelian dialectic dichotomous thinking. Sooner you do that, the better your life will be. Start to see things more clearly. Start to get a better understanding on how things work in the world. There's always so many unanswered questions whenever you take sides like that. And they all end up saying the same exact things as soon as their person gets in power. They reverse and they say, oh, how about this, this, this? And then the other side will get power and they'll do the same thing while condemning the previous one for doing that same thing. Blows me away, honestly. The psychology of those people that are involved in all that, scary. Terrifying. Moving on. Okay, here we are at ampproject.org. This is kind of interesting, because this makes however many 120, 130, I don't know the number. Yes, this was in Paris, but it makes the case for worldwide agenda, because the same thing is going on over here. Fire breaks out at world's biggest produce market in Paris. A blaze at a massive produce market that supplies Paris with much of its fresh food sent a billowing column of dark smoke towering over the French capital before it was brought under control. A billowing column of dark smoke towered over Paris on Sunday from a warehouse blaze at a massive produce market that supplies the French capital and surrounding region with much of its fresh food and bills itself as the largest of its kind in the world. So they're not just destroying the food here. They're destroying the food everywhere. And that'll affect us because we rely on imports and exports. Not from Paris the majority of the time per se, but you know what I'm getting at. Firefighters urged people to stay away from the area in Paris' southern suburbs as 100 officers and 30 fire engines battled the blaze at the Rungis International Market. Captain Marc Lemoyne, spokesman for the Paris Fire Service, said no one was injured. Fire was brought under control and there was no risk of it spreading from the soccer field-sized warehouse covering an area of 7,000 square meters. He said, wow, 1.7 acres. That's a big building. The cause of the blaze was unknown, but will be investigated, he added. It's always unknown, right? They're going to say short wire or blame some poor guy on the side of the road that they see. Man, that just makes me so mad. The sprawling wholesale market is a veritable town unto itself, with more than 12,000 people working there and warehouses filled with fruit and vegetables, seafood, meats, dairy products, and flowers from across France and around the world. So all over the world. See how they're just chipping away? Just every little thing that happens goes into the grand scheme of things. And it's all strategic. It's all intentional. Perfectly in line with Agenda 2030. I believe that's the end of that. Okay, so that's the end of that. More of these things will happen. This is part of the Great Reset. This is how they're going to get you to start eating bugs and grass and certain types of rocks. No, I swear, I've seen these people that, I don't know if it was in the U.S. If I find it, I'll make a community post. They were eating certain types of rocks. Tree bark, bunch of other stuff. I won't say nothing's wrong with, like, you know, going and eating natural things, but they're trying to push us toward this. They want to make humans as synthetic as possible. And you are what you eat, so what do you think this food's gonna do to you? What do you think their weird Franken food's gonna do to you? This is supposed to be the United States. You know, where people can eat whatever they want, do whatever you want, worship at the altar of your choice without being harassed, be free, express yourself in whatever way you want. People used to come here to want a better life, and now nobody wants to come here. Because this place is Babylon, and it's worse than a lot of other places in the world. Now it is. Never used to be that way. We had the greatest of almost everything. The free minds of the people created one of the greatest societies on earth. Then, took a turn for the worse. Everything was corrupted. And it started the founding of this country, but there were still a lot of people that, you know, believed in freedom and fought for that side, but there was always that hidden hand gently guiding us toward where we are now. And a bunch of politicians have let us know that fact. Some gave their lives for it. Some just wrote a little column in a newspaper on a Tuesday evening when no one buys the paper. Some said it on radio. Some said it during press conferences. But a lot of people have already given their lives to try to bring the truth to people. More recently, let's start with Bill Cooper. Ted Gunderson, former FBI, exposed everything. They got him too. Jeff C., Alan Watt, David Goldberg, Brandy Vaughn, Rosa Quarry. The list goes on and on. People have given their lives in defense of freedom and so people can come to the truth. And if we're all just a bunch of lunatics, then why are a lot of us ending up dead in unfortunate circumstances? What about that one woman that found out that Obama was not born in the United States and his birth certificate was fake? Because she worked at the whatever it's called. She worked at the, where you get birth certificates and whatnot. It's called something different everywhere. Ours is called like the, I forget. Honestly, I'm having a brain fart. You know what they did? They gave her 2 cruise or plane tickets to go on vacation. Plane went down. She dead. Yep. So, doesn't even matter what it could be about. It could be about any number of things. You come across one wrong topic, you got people at your door and whatnot. Okay, moving on. Here's just an all-around great idea. Newsweek. Texas company creating tiny particle accelerators for people to buy. What? Are you serious? You gotta be joking. Nothing good could come from this. Nothing. A new plasma accelerator the size of a few shipping containers instead of a city has been developed by a private Texas-based company. TAU Systems, based in Austin, has developed a prototype miniature plasma accelerator that could allow particle accelerator technology to be accessible for any institution who needs it. Any institution who needs it, huh? According to TAU, this would allow the creation of custom medicines, break down microplastics, and even eliminate nuclear waste. It has the potential to basically revolutionize the way we do, for example, biomolecular chemistry stuff. Jorn Manuel Heiglich, the founder and CEO of TAU, told Newsweek. From that word, vaccines, new drugs, new crops, garbage, plastic, eating bacteria. This technology has all kinds of applications. Let's see. Okay, particle accelerators generally use electromagnetic fields to propel charged particles at very high speeds, energies for use in research. The largest accelerator currently operating is the Large Hadron Collider in Switzerland, operated by CERN, which accelerates two beams of protons and collides them head-on. Yeah, and they also have the statue of Shiva outside. So there's that. But basically just... I'm just going to skim through this. It's pretty long. We're basically taking a normal particle accelerator, which is the size of a campus, right, but now with the technology we could fit it into a room, Heigelich said. So yeah, for any jackass that wants to mess around with biomolecular chemistry and all this and that, just go ahead and come on down and pick up one of these. The implications of this are astounding. Blah, 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 blah. And what about these billionaires? They get their hands on one. Like, what if Bill Gates puts one of these, or multiple of these, on his hundreds of thousands of farmland that he bought in the United States? Off of your back. So basically just blah, 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 blah. Just wanted to bring that up to show that a Texas company is creating tiny particle accelerators for people to buy. Do with that what you will. I don't think it's a good idea, but I don't know. Moving on. Okay, this one's pretty long too, but I'm going to skim through it. Washington Post. Will gun owners fight for stronger gun laws? A new group, which includes two former NRA lobbyists, is betting on it. How many times do myself and others like me have to tell people the NRA is a Trojan horse? They will literally compromise your rights away every step of the way. They have backed every major infringement since the Gun Control Act of 1968. Abra Belk was home for the holidays in 2012 when she watched a speech that would soon become infamous. She woke up jet-lagged at her brother's condo. She had flown down to Montana from D.C. late the previous night, but she forced herself out of bed, went downstairs in her pajamas, turned on television. Wayne LaPierre, CEO of National Rifle Association, standing at a lectern. Quote, "The only thing that stops a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun," he proclaimed. 1 week after the shooting at Sandy Hook Elementary School in Newtown, had claimed the lives of 20 students and 6 educators. Sitting on the couch, Belk looked over at her brother's fiance and said, "Oh my God, I have to quit my job." This kind of reminds me of the guy that cut his rifle in half. And he said, "There, now my rifle will never be used to hurt anybody." Well, were you going to use it to do anything? If not, it's not going to do anything. It's not going to hurt anybody. It's an inanimate object. Anyway, for more than a year, Belk had been working as a lobbyist for the NRA. From an early age, guns had been part of her life. She'd grown up in Butte, Montana, where her father was president of the local gun club. He'd given her a Chipmunk 22-caliber rifle, a youth-sized firearm, for her 8th birthday. And their primary father-daughter activity was to shoot targets at the range together. This was common for children in Montana, forbidden to touching guns in the house under normal circumstances, also taught how to shoot in response to human or animal threat. These are not toys, her father would tell her. The second you disrespect this firearm, you will wind up dead. Sounds like her father taught her right. Okay, well basically it just goes on about who she is. Don't really need to read any of that. Okay, in the wake of Sandy Hook, Belk found her employer increasingly hard to defend. Quote, "I remember watching the speech. Belk, now 40, told me recently, just like mouth on the floor because it was so tone deaf and stupid. She recalls that she spoke with her boss at ILA. I think I started the conversation with that phrase. What the hell was that? But agreed to stay on for a time. The NRA was initially at least participating in talks about the universal background checks bill proposed by Senators Joe Manchin and Patrick J. Toomey. Yeah, see? They always do that. And they're like, okay, we could find a compromise. Right here's the line. A couple years later. Oh, right here's the line. A couple years later. Oh, right here's the line. If you rely on the NRA, you're going to be standing there with a metal barrel in your hand. And then they're going to take that away too. The NRA is not on our side. Okay, so hoping an agreement could be reached, of course. Meanwhile, she was fielding voicemail threats from people who held the NRA responsible for the massacre. Yeah, they always blame, NRA, and anybody that owns guns would be automatically drawn into that because of the implication. How is it my fault if somebody else goes out and commits a crime with a firearm? If some drunk guy gets in his car, goes on the highway, drives down the wrong side, kills a family of 5, is that my fault? No, I was at home sleeping. It's not my fault. Okay, but anyway, so blah blah blah. I'm trying to get to the part where it's just talking of how she went from the NRA to whatever. Okay, wait. Carpenter told Belk the new organization called 97%. The name refers to a 2018 Quinnipiac University poll, which found that 97% of American voters, same percentage of gun owners, support universal background checks. Okay, I never got polled. The group, founded by entrepreneurs and philanthropists Adam and Stacy Miller, promotes pragmatic gun policy reforms with a twist. The principal goal is to engage gun owners in the conversation. In polls and focus groups, they say they have found that gun owners are more amenable to reforms than most Americans believe. To make real progress on the issue, they argue gun owners must be at the table. And this is her. So, basically what they're saying here, they're trying to get a lot of these gun owners to support these, quote, common sense laws, right? But every time they pass one, they're like, okay, this is good. Then they're like, oh, we need more common sense laws. These people are going to support their own destruction. I will never support this. All laws against any kind of defense mechanism is unlawful. And frankly, police officers are bound by their oath to disobey unlawful orders. But we're not ruled by actual law anymore in America. We are ruled by manipulation, fear, emotions, you name it. It's really nerve-wracking sometimes, honestly. It really is. This kind of stuff makes me sick. And people say, oh, the Second Amendment, this, that. Second Amendment doesn't say we can have anything. Second Amendment says that the government cannot get involved in your right to defend yourself. The founders even took it a step further in the Federalist Papers, saying that the Second Amendment's sole purpose was to prevent tyranny. And what does every single totalitarian government do before they commit genocide? They take the guns. Simple as that. And if we lose ours here in America, the whole world is done. Moving on. Okay, here we are over at Reuters. 1 second, let me, I should have did this when I was switching, but let me light my cigarette real quick. Sorry, guys. Smoking is the worst thing that I ever started to do. I started with the snuff, the rubbing tobacco, when I was 12. My dad gave me my first dip of snuff when I was 12. Hated it, threw up, whatever. Then I realized I really liked it, because I liked the feeling that it gave me. And I wanted to, you know, go to school and do it with my friends. So, somewhat peer pressure, somewhat curiosity. Started, like, you know, taking little bits out of my dad's can. He found out when I was 13, my dad bought me my first can, said I ain't buying you no more. Liked it. Dipped snuff from technically 12 to 18, almost 18, like a month before turning 18, then I started smoking. And I'm 28 now, so. Been using tobacco for a very long time. I quit for 28 days once before. Don't know why I ever went back. Who am I kidding? You guys probably don't care about this. You guys don't come on here to listen to my personal life. Ready for this? Ready for this social engineering, emotional abuse? Blood on your hands. If world steps back on tackling situation now, who official says. Who is this guy? The blood's on your hands, bro. You're the one that's allowing these people to get away with these atrocities. Okay, so if rich nations think the situation is over, they should help lower income countries reach that point too, a senior World Health Organization official told Reuters. In an interview, WHO's senior advisor Bruce Aylward warned that richer nations must not step back from tackling the situation as a global problem now ahead of future potential waves of infection. So you see, they're not done with this. They're going to play this one as long as they can. Same with the climate. We're just getting started on that one. In the last few weeks, WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus said the end of the situation was in sight. U.S. President Joe Biden said the situation was over. Quote, when I hear them say, well, we're so comfortable here, it's like, great. Now you can really help get the rest of the world done, said Aylward. He said the group he coordinates, which focuses on equitable access to C-19 vaccines, treatments, and tests worldwide, is not yet ready to move out of the emergency phase of the tackling the situation. And countries need to be ready and have treatments in place for any further waves of infection. Okay. Quote, if you go to sleep right now and this wave hits us in 3 months, God, blood on your hands, he said. So he took the Lord's name in vain, technically. Okay, the blood's on our hands, I guess. Their official numbers are 9,000 people in 3 years, so I'm not even going to talk on that. I can't. It's bad enough this is probably already going to get taken down. I hope it doesn't. But every time I talked about a certain person, a certain billionaire, it's gotten taken down. Every time I talked anything about the treatment, it's gotten taken down, so we'll see. We'll see. He also stressed that Biden had a point domestically, as the United States has good access to all situation tools. It has also not cut its global commitment to fighting the situation, he added. Okay, Aylward coordinates the Accelerator partnership between WHO and other global health bodies to help poor countries access C-19 tools. Blah, blah, blah. The effort, which includes the blank-focused blank, has reached billions of people worldwide, but has faced criticism for not acting quickly enough. There had been some speculation in the effort may wind up this autumn Aylward said it was simply changing its focus as the situation changes. So basically, they're trying to make sure that everybody gets their their experimental whatever. So there's that. Okay, don't need to really read that. It will also look to the future as the situation is, quote, here to stay. There it is. And unless systems are put in place, support will collapse once other industrialized nations also think the situation's over. So they're already helping to accelerate. All this goes to accelerate Agenda 2030. No ands, ifs, or buts about it. And you can't even say that it's not. Because everything they do, they always make sure it lines up with Agenda 2030. We're still supposed to believe that this is all response to the situation. You don't think they had this plan for years? I mean, you guys do, of course, but, you know. Okay, so basically, they're spending $11 billion, and with most of it's available, $5.7 billion in funding pledged toward vaccines rather than tests or treatments. So, I wanted to bring this up because this guy's saying the blood's on our hands if we can't get all the rest of these out to the world. But what if the world don't want them? Then what? What if a whole country decides to tell them to fuck off? Pardon my French. Then what? Oh, it just so happens that we may have found a terrorist cell hiding in this country. We gotta go take it out. Send the United States military. Bam. Regime change. Done. That's how easy it is. Remember what General Wesley Clark said? He said the way they operate, if the only tool you have is a hammer, every problem has to look like a nail. That's U.S. policy. And I know someone got on here before, and when I was talking about something like this, it was like 10 months ago. It was a long time ago. I forget who it was, and it don't matter anymore, but they said something like, oh, if you don't like the U.S. so much, why don't you just leave? Calm down. Time out. I love my country. I love the United States of America. I love the Constitution. I love freedom. I am 100% pro-United States. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing. Because I love freedom. And it's being systematically destroyed in 1,000 or 1,000,000 tiny, tiny little particles at a time. Just tiny little chips at a time. Boom, 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 boom. And eventually, the whole thing comes crashing down. And then, you know, the phoenix can rise from the ashes of the old world order and the whole Denver airport mural nonsense. People better wake up, man. People better wake up. We literally do not have the time to be sitting here and spoon feeding people this information. Most of these people, you literally have to like tie them down and just tell them like, listen, give them a good shake. Listen to me. This is happening. Let me see if I got one more for you guys. I might. Okay, I guess I could bring this one up. I had this for a couple days now. Electric cars charging at night could make America's power grids unstable, study warns. You needed a study to tell you that? Why do you think they want people to get on all this stuff? It doesn't seem like that they're trying to make the power grid unstable by not updating it, rebuilding it. They say they do. They say they will. Every year they say, oh, we're going to put this much money into our electric infrastructure and this and that. But they really don't. They put up a couple new towers here and there. The same technology we use for our electricity, like what runs through your house right now, poles and wires above ground, that's been around since we first got it. There's places in the world that it's all just underground wires, not even that, fiber optics. You can get electricity through, like, airwaves now. Not to mention all the technology that Tesla had that they buried. But no, they want to keep our infrastructure weak. Okay, so leaving your electric car charging overnight to have it ready in the morning seems like a good idea in theory. But in reality, research suggests doing so does more harm than in the long run. Stanford scientists say that it's more costly to charge your electric car at night, and it could stress out your local electric grid. Duh. Instead, researchers suggest drivers should switch to charging their vehicle at work or in public charging stations. Another added benefit to charging in the daytime at a public station is that it reduces greenhouse gas emissions. With the effects of climate change, there's that word. There it is. Climate change, the boogeyman, the new one. But you can literally just substitute it with geoengineering. I'm doing that from now on. Every time I read the word climate change, I'm substituting it for geoengineering. There's way too much evidence of that to even deny it at this point. There's more evidence for it than against it. Just put it that way. With the effects of geoengineering more apparent than ever. Frequent forest fires, widespread flooding, and stronger hurricanes, car companies are expecting people to start investing in electric-powered cars in the future. Boy, that made sense. No, literally, it made sense when I read it like that, with geoengineering in place. Wow. For example, California residents are expected to buy more electric cars as the state is planning to ban sales of gasoline-powered cars and light trucks in 2035. Why do they have to ban them? Why can't they just be like, hey, if you want to drive an electric car, cool. If not, this is America. The fossil fuel shortage is a lie. Why do you think we haven't ran out yet? They said we were going to run out by 2000. Nope. They said that we were going to run out. Oh my God, I remember my grandparents talking about them saying that back in the day. We encourage policymakers to consider utility rates that encourage day charging and incentivize investment in charging infrastructure to shift drivers from home to work for charging, says studies co-senior author Ram Rajagopal, associate professor of civil and environmental engineering at Stanford University, in a statement. So think about this. Not many people have these electric cars. Especially where I come from, nobody has electric cars. Everybody's driving gas hogs where I live. Imagine if everybody got one of these electric cars and started charging them at night. That would put, even in the daytime, that would put such a strain on our power grid, it couldn't handle it. There's no way it could. Our power grid is so fragile, a storm knocks the power out. Oh, I got the hiccups now. These stupid ads. So far, electric cars make up 1 million or 6% of automobile sales in California. The state's goal is to increase the number to 5 million electric vehicles by 2030. However, the study authors say the change from gas to electric will cause a strain in the electric grid when there's 30 to 40% of cars on the road. No Sherlock. We were able to show that with less home charging and more daytime charging, the western U.S. would need less generating capacity and storage, and it would not waste as much solar and wind power, explains Siobhan Powell, doctor of mechanical engineering, lead study author. And it's not just California and western states. All states may need to rethink electricity pricing structures as their electric vehicle charging needs increase and their grid changes. So basically, they're admitting that if more people get these cars, it's going to strain the grid. Also, at the same time, warning about solar flares, weather, EMPs. They've been telling us that they're going to knock the grid for a while. It may not be all of the grid all of the time, but it will be at least widespread, area by area. I forget what show it was, but I was watching a video and someone brought up a scene from a show. They didn't say what it was, but the power was kicked out. It might have been a movie, but the people could still use their phones. And the phones were what they did everything on, but the electricity was out. That would make sense because they're still going to want to push propaganda and whatnot. They're still going to, want to do all that and probably more once they knock the power out. So I'm not sure what to make of that. That's just what I saw in that show, but we know how predictive programming is and all of that, so. Anyway, if half of vehicles in the western United States are electric, the team estimates that it would take over 5.4 gigawatts of energy storage, equivalent to 5 large nuclear power reactors to charge the cars. However, if people charge their electric cars at work instead of home, the electric demand is expected to go down to 4.2 gigawatts. But wait a minute. If everyone's charging their car at work at the same time, wouldn't that also cause a problem? I really don't know. I'm just asking. I honestly don't know about much of this. I know basic electricity knowledge and whatnot, but okay, California currently uses time of use rates to encourage people to use electricity at night, such as running the dishwasher or charging cars. However, the authors argue that with growing demand of electric cars, this strategy is outdated and will soon incur high demand with low supply. More specifically, the teams said if a third of homes were to charge their electric vehicles, cars at 11 p.m., or whenever electricity rates go down, the local grid will become unstable. Well, this is very long. This is very long. Oh my. But basically, that's all this is saying. Oh no, it's not long. I thought it was way longer. I mean, it does go down in the comments, but alright, so. The findings from this paper have two profound implications. The first is that the price signals are not aligned with what would be the best for the grid and ratepayers. Second is that it calls for considering investments in charging infrastructure for where people work, says Inez Azevedo, Associate Professor of Energy Science and Engineering, co-senior author. We need to move quickly toward decarbonizing the transportation sector, which accounts for the bulk of emissions in California, Azevedo says. This work provides insight on how to get there. Let's ensure that we pursue policies and investment strategies that allow us to do so in a way that is what? A way that is what? Sustainable. There it is. Always. It all leads back to sustainable development. So for all these people running around, electric cars are a good idea. Electric cars, dude. Because, totally, you don't even need gas. You just need electric. And, that would be cool. And it's better for the environment. Those electric cars freak me out because I feel like they're either a stepping stone or something. Like, people can hack those. We already have hackers. They have these cars that run on electricity, and eventually cars that run through the internet and self-driving cars, they can be hacked. Not just by people, but by governments, organizations. I'll stick with my gas-powered car, and if they want to try to take it off me, then you go ahead and just try. Because you ain't getting it. It's mine. It's my property. I paid for it. With my money that I worked for. Oh, you're going to pull the whole Federal Reserve note is not really, it's a promissory note, so you have to pay it back in whatever. I was not aware of that agreement in whatever contract you assigned for me at birth, so I am not bound by that through the laws that were set up early in this country's history. Do you know that you have to fully understand whatever? They cannot charge you for a law that you fully do not understand. It is unlawful for them to do so. Unlawful for them to do that. But nobody ever wants to make a stink about it, so they just go and they pay their fines, whatever, it's done. Everybody wants convenience, 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 convenience. Convenience literally is the downfall of this world. Not just here, the world. Everybody wants everything to be so convenient. That is not a good thing at all. People's attention spans are so short. These guys got 50-year plans, 100-year plans, 200-year plans, and most people in the United States, especially in the United States, they can't even focus on one subject or anything for longer than 5-6 seconds, and they're on to something else. They need constant stimulation. Why do you think social media and phones have the same characteristics and properties as drugs? It releases dopamine in your brain, so people are hooked to these phones all day. And when they see things happen, like on their phones and whatnot, it desensitizes them because they're not actually fully understanding that it's a real problem. They're not fully feeling it because it's being filtered by blue light. Why do you think they used to do like public executions of like murderers, criminals, whoever? Why do you think they used to do like all of that stuff publicly? Because it keeps people grounded in their community on a realistic level. Why do you think these people want everything done in the metaverse and whatnot? So they can go around and create whatever kind of havoc they want, and the people won't fully emotionally understand it because of the emotional, spiritual disconnection through blue light filters. And we got the patents to back it up too. So, I don't know. But that's all I have for you guys today. We'll be back probably here in a couple days. I gotta find some more stuff. Things are always happening. As always, keep an eye out. And please remember what I said. If you start making videos, email me. I'll put my email in the description or in the comments. The pinned comment will be my email address. If you make videos, send me a link to your YouTube channel or whatever. I will check it out. If you do good work and you're helping out and you're, getting stuff out there, even if you're just pointing a camera at the sky, talking about, look at my sky being passed over with all these chemtrails, I will recommend your channel. Let's pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and glory, forever and ever. Amen.